hospital porters' pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. I'm making a video right now without any sort of plan or script. I've only just decided to do it about a quarter of an hour ago. So you'll forgive me if I ramble a little bit or pause, things like that. But I really felt it was very important for me to say a few words. I just suddenly felt the urge to say something because there's a situation going on at the moment. A very interesting situation, and also it's the situation that has stirred up a lot of conflict within me, that has always been a source of internal conflict as well as debates with other people. And that is, of course, exopolitics and disclosure. And I'm going to put as many links in the description box as I can remember, I can think to put in, of source material which I've done before, including the Disclosure Day event that we did in the streets in July, and certainly the radio show, the Panwo show that has just broadcast, which I did this evening just before I'm doing this. Now, so I'm keeping my voice down, right? Because everyone's gone to bed. I don't normally film at this time of night. I've not put the main light on in here. I could have done this in my room, but it's a bit pokey, so I thought I'd come in here. I can't be bothered to set my tripod up either this late at night. So I've come in here and I've got the little light on because I don't want light leaking under the doors into their rooms. And so I'm in the dark. A little bit like millennial woes. Which, you know, I'd have to have a bit more beard and a bit more hair and a bottle of Coke, cigarette. Megtow, reactosphere, middle class. It's disgusting, pathetic, proper diction. The situation, of course, relating to disclosure, and I've talked about before. I mean, I've said this many times. I hardly need to go over it again. But I'm in a bit of a situation where my heart and my head are saying two very different things. And I came across some information based on the radio show I've just done, which again has driven me into this conflict again. What happened was I interviewed Stephen Bassett of the Paradigm Research Group. Steve is currently in Washington, DC, involved in the Citizens Hearing Initiative. Now, if you remember last year, there was the Citizens Hearing, and I did a whole series of radio shows on the Citizens Hearing, and there are links in the the description box. You will get to see them because I'll put links in to the Panwo radio blog. But Steve organised the Citizen Hearing where he got 6 former members of the US Congress, Senator Gravel, Congresswoman Kilpatrick, Congressman Merrill, Cook, Congresswoman, what's her name? I can't remember the rest of them. There was, and Congressman Roscoe Bartlett, and that was it, and a few others. I can't remember them all. But they basically, over 30 hours, over a 5-day period, they heard interviews, they heard the testimony of over 60 witnesses. Not your local, quote, nutters, unquote, not people like me, who everyone laughs at. These were people like the Right Honourable Paul Hellyer MP, the former Defence Minister for Canada. These were people like Captain Robert Salas, US Air Force retired, who had his finger on the nuclear button and therefore had his mental health more carefully monitored than anybody else. People like Gary Hazeltine, a former police officer, fighter pilots like there were several different fighter pilots, people from all over the world, from China, from Argentina, from Britain, from everywhere. And it was an amazing event. It was streamed live on the net and I watched it. Now what Steve Bassett has done is been trying to get a proper congressional hearing now. The citizen hearing was kind of a mock-up. It was a facsimile where he actually employed 6 ex-Congress people to be to take part. What he wants now is a proper US congressional hearing on disclosure. And what he's done is he's basically gone to Washington. He's sent out the 10 DVD packet of the entire proceedings of the citizen hearing to every single member of the US Congress, all the senators. That's 584 people, 100 senators and 484 representatives in the House of Representatives. And then he's going to go there, and basically he wants people to do a Twitter storm. He said, make it rain. In other words, a Twitter storm, Facebook messages, emails. If you're American, you can send an email to your congressman, or if you can get hold of an email address in America. And basically that's what he wants to do. And then he can try and urge these Congress people to meet with him, so he can arrange meetings where they can organise a proper congressional hearing, not a citizen one or an official one, and it will be the first US Congress investigation into UFOs since the Condon report in 1968, and the symposium, the hearing they had just before then. And so what I interviewed Steve, and I broadcast that interview tonight. There will definitely be a link in the description box to the podcast of that show, and that's kind of like what I've done, and I do urge you to go and listen to that radio show because it's very interesting. But of course, you could hear when I'm talking, you can almost hear that I'm kind of like captivated by what Steve is saying and by his vision, because he's basically saying that over the next couple of months, he's going to arrange meetings with various congressmen. And he's going to arrange these hearings, and he hopes to maybe have an official congressional hearing by February. Once that hearing is underway, within a week we could have disclosure. And when he says that, it almost like lights fireworks inside me, and I'm thinking, blimey, you could have, we could actually have the US president or David Cameron coming on TV and saying, ladies and gentlemen, UFOs are real. We've always known about it. Interesting. I mean, I've made several videos illustrating this conflict, like my Obama video, which I got into a lot of trouble for because it was politically incorrect. But I think I made the point I wanted to make. I didn't think it was racist at all. What I did, I thought it was perfectly respectful. I mean, if Hillary becomes the next president, I'm going to redo it, and I'm going to dress up in drag. You'll see me on camera in drag. Now, that's reason enough to vote for Hillary, isn't it? So you can have that laugh. Or if it's another president, another candidate wins, I'll dress up as that president. I'll redo it. Because when I listen to Steve, I can actually believe it's possible. I can actually believe that we could actually have the government coming out and admitting UFOs are real. They've known about it since at least Roswell, probably earlier. And then that other part of me comes in and says, don't be stupid, Ben. Don't be stupid. And it says all the kind of things I was saying in my Obama video and lots of other places. We're talking about, there are secrets that governments keep. There are big secrets. There are little secrets like the expenses scandal. There are bigger secrets like Watergate, or things like that. There are secrets that are bigger than big. There are secrets that are so big they effectively create a hole which the keepers of the secret go down into, which they can never come out of. 9/11 is an example of that. The free energy cover-up, which of course is related to the UFO issue considerably. The institutional abuse of children, the true scale of the institutional abuse of children, that's another example. These are the kind of secrets that they withhold you, if that's a correct word. No, they're withholding. The withholding of these secrets is quintessential to the survival of your institution. They basically, if they were not secret, if this information was not secret, your institution could not exist. And that's what I'm saying. And in terms of UFOs, we're talking about, just to reiterate the fact that the US government and many other governments in this world too sat on the biggest secret, to quote the great Stanton Friedman, of the second millennium. Firstly, the idea that we are not alone in the universe. There is intelligent life in the universe apart from ourselves. And that's just the start of it. Because I mean, that on a cultural level is big enough. The idea that we're not just this little island of life, this tiny little dot of life, a little pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan called it. This little island of life in this infinite cosmic desert of sterile vacuum with a few carbon compounds and noble gases and specks of dust and flying meteors. That in itself, on a cultural level, would be enormously impacting on human society. But that's just the start of it, because they're going to have to admit that they did capture some aliens at Roswell. They did salvage the wreckage of the craft that came down at Roswell, and that they have back engineered the propulsion system and power plant of that craft. They'll have to admit they did it, and they did it probably over 50 years ago. What's more, they'll have to also admit that this goes back much further. The whole free energy issue goes back a hell of a lot further. It goes back over 50 years before Roswell. We're talking about Nikola Tesla and the suppression of his technology. But even before the age of oil, when the Industrial Revolution was using coal, there were moves afoot to prevent free energy being available to the people, for the fact that it would make control of the people impossible. It would set us free. I'll go into more details about that in the various other things I've done. But so it's late. I'm a bit sleepy. But we're in a situation also in which this means that effectively every single bad thing that's happened in the world since this technology has become available, which could have been prevented by this technology, the keepers of the secret are liable for every single action, every single bad thing that's happened, every single death, every single illness, every single piece of environmental destruction, every single war for oil. It makes the mind boggle. I mean, it's incomprehensible. All the forests that have been cut down, all of the air, the way the atmosphere has been polluted, all the deaths from starvation. Because, of course, as I've explained, free energy would eliminate poverty. It would eliminate environmental destruction. It would eliminate all these problems. It would create a world of plenty for everyone. I mean, if you just think about it, I mean, you just have to think. Imagine you had, for instance, a box in your house the size of a small cardboard box, so 2 foot squared, that could fit in a cupboard inside your house, that could provide your home with unlimited energy, completely free, apart from a tiny amount of maintenance costs. This box will cost £80, just a single one-off investment and minuscule maintenance costs. Completely free, completely safe, limitless, and clean, and infinite. Check out my Bufog lecture on that. If I remember all these links in the description box. It would mean old people wouldn't die of cold every winter. It would mean, that's just the start of it. It means you could put one in your car and drive around the world without stopping. You could pump water for no cost at all from the oceans, desalinate it, and make the deserts bloom. End of starvation. I mean, it's just, I've talked about this sort of thing before, and it's so incredibly mind-blowing and beyond the scope of what we can imagine, that it's incomprehensible. Now, that in itself would probably make the New World Order impossible. It would mean the Illuminati couldn't possibly have their New World Order, because they'd have no way of creating it on the model they want. The Georgia Guidestones modelled population under 500 million, in perpetual balance with nature, resource-based economy, etc. I mean, we're talking about what they want to implement is effectively a very extreme form of communism. That's what it is. That's what the New World Order would be. They can't do that with free energy. It's impossible. And then, of course, the people the keepers of the secret would then have to admit that they'd kept that secret, and they'd kept it not for our benefit but for theirs, and they'd kept it for over 60, maybe no longer. We're talking about over a century probably. And what are they going to say? Sorry? We'll bring back school milk? Yeah, it's just... It's something that cannot... It's a political impossibility. That's what this part of me thinks. It's one of these things that is unutterable within the sphere of politics as we know it. But what if I'm wrong? What if somehow this Steve, I think Steve Bassett has an awareness of this. I've discussed this with him many times. In fact, this is the 4th time I've interviewed him, and we go into this on other radio shows. You know, he's aware of the irresistible force beating the immovable object. That's what he calls it. He understands that. He also understands how this fits into other conspiracies. It fits. People start asking questions about 9/11. They'll start asking questions about the children and what's happening to them. You know, this is the domino effect. People start asking one thing, and another thing comes up. If you want to know whether that noise is me farting, yes it is. Pardon me. So it's very late. But so what he seems, you know, he doesn't come across as some wide-eyed idealist. Steve comes across as a very level-headed guy, and he's dedicated his life to this. And he's so confident. I mean, he's saying we could have disclosure by February. So I've once again been captivated by this dream, by this image, and I'm starting to believe it's possible. And everything I just said is negated. But then this other part of myself says, no, don't be daft, Ben. You're right first time. Has this ever happened to you, where you have this kind of these two sides to yourself, where one side is saying one thing and the other is saying something else? Has that ever happened to you? And then both sides are absolutely certain that the other side is wrong. You have this internal debate. And I've discussed this with other people, and I've kind of played the advocate for both roles within these debates I've had with other people. And the other side of myself, when I'm debating one part, feels like a hypocrite. Says, you're a hypocrite, Ben, for saying that. And then the other half says, no, you're a hypocrite for saying the other thing. The other side, you see what I mean? So I'm in a bit of a quandary here. But I mean, it's absolutely when I listened to, I mean, because I recorded the show on Monday evening, because I couldn't bring Steve on live because of technical problems, and so I recorded it on Monday evening, and I promised him, Steve likes to go live on the air. I said, look, this will be out within 24 hours, and it was out within 24 hours. And the podcast link will be in the description box, as I said. You know, but he's just... He said that what happened was there was a news report by someone called Janet Harper of the Washington Times, that everyone in Congress reads, and he read this article out to me. It's not available. You can't get it. You can't get it on the international website. You can only get it on the US domestic website. I mean, the Americans I know have told me this article's there, but it's not available from outside the United States. But Steve read it out to me, and then someone has confirmed that it's correct. It's unbelievable. This article by Janet Harper, it's something that Steve himself could almost have written. Now, Washington Post, of course, is owned by Conrad Black. So clearly, if Conrad Black is one of these secret keepers, he's obviously not able to keep it secret. He's not up. You see, I've said this, there's a limit to what can be covered up. If enough, they can't hold a gun to the heads of every single journalist in the world. So it's possible that whoever's running the Washington, Conrad Black, whoever's pulling Conrad Black strings, is sort of like not doing much or not able to do much to stop Steve and what's going on. And there's even more interesting things. It seems like Bill Clinton is sort of like making sounds that he wants to get involved. Bill Clinton is trying to escape the sort of like backlash when it happens. You see, it's so what Steve has done is he said that when these DVDs are being sent out, which is now, he started on the 5th of November. He's been in Washington since the 20th, so he's been in Washington 5 days. He said to get those DVDs out. He sent the DVDs to the congressman, and what he wants us to do is to Twitter storm the White House or the halls of Congress. There's 3 branches of government in the United States. There's the executive, that's the president. There's the legislative, that's Congress, and there's the judiciary. This is the legislative we're dealing with. So it's the halls of Congress you've got to Twitter storm. So just, if you go to the PRG group, as we explained in the radio show, he gives you instructions on how to Twitter, to send tweets to every single congressman, and send them again and again, and sort of retweet what other people have done. And when that happens enough times, then someone will have to sit up and take notice. That's what Steve thinks, and I think maybe he's correct. Remains to be seen, but I'm almost like sort of like, it's almost like more exciting than, well, it's much more exciting than Christmas, the thought that we could be 3 months away from disclosure, and everything I've said is wrong. All the other stuff all the other flannel I've given you about the Tesla and stuff, and about how they can't admit it and the hole they dug themselves into, and I'm wrong there, and that side of myself is going to be proved wrong. Wouldn't it be incredible? That's the, this is the thing. And the book AD After Disclosure by Bryce Zabel and Richard Dolan, that is really worth reading. It really is. And it's just, I mean, we all know this stuff is, we all know it's true. And almost half the people in the country, in the world, in the United States and in other Western countries, believe it too. So it's there. I mean, it's the feature. It's the theme of many movies and TV shows, and it's sort of under the surface. You know, the UFO trope it's a major cultural meme. It's a major archetype, and all we need now is for it to become known. And I've got to consider the fact that if that's the case, if disclosure happens, it basically means that the Illuminati have given up on the New World Order. They have to have. There's no way they can adjust their plan, their great work of the ages. I can't see how they could possibly adjust their plan where free energy exists. It's impossible. It is incomprehensible, inconceivable. It means that they've given up, and it means the New World Order is over. So this is far more than just us knowing that there are little green men up there. This is the disclosure of extraterrestrial life or extra-dimensional life, whatever it is, and the end of the New World Order. That means no more false flag terrorist attacks. No more of this mess we're in somehow. And could it be possible? Is it really possible? Am I just letting my imagination get away with me? Am I just allowing myself to become enraptured and overcome? Which I am capable. I know that I can become excessively passionate sometimes, and then I lose my reason. It does happen. But is it possible? Is it possible that the end, we're on the final straight, 3 months' time, and it's all over? And I mean, we're going to live we're going to enter the post-Illuminati world by early next year, and I'll have lived. Not only will I've lived to see it, but I'm still a young man. I'll live my life in the post-Illuminati world, and my daughter, she's 19, she's not going to have to face adulthood in the Illuminati occupied world. Who knows, or who dares to dream? That's the question. And there's a little bit more, actually. I want to show you something else. Come with me. Well, I came across this in the Daily Mirror, a quality bastion of British journalism. Real alien autopsy photos, Roswell image of extraterrestrial body dated in 1947. UFO expert Thomas Carey claims to have been given the images by an agent from a US intelligence agent who was operating during the Second World War. He calls it the smoking gun. Well, that's a still from Ray Santilli's Alien Autopsy film, which is about as genuine as Jordan's tits. But it's still there's a reason why they're using this picture right now. UFO researcher claims to have been given an authentic image of an alien supposedly taken after an autopsy in the top secret Area 51. The photo taken on film was sent to Tom Carey, who's been has been verified to date back to 1947 by Kodak, according to Carey, the same year as the infamous Roswell crash in New Mexico. Mr. Carey has now contacted Kodak historians to seek further confirmation. He says, what's interesting is the film is dated to 1947. And of course, that's the whole problem with the Santilli film. This is why it was fake. And Santilli eventually confessed. But basically, it took him 10 years, but he eventually confessed that his film... because he never showed the original film, he showed a video copy. He said he had the original film and never produced it. So very few people actually believed him, contrary to what the skeptics say. It is 1947 stock, and from the emulsions on the image, it's not something that's been photoshopped today. It's original 1947 images, and it shows an alien who's been partly dissected lying in a case. That's just another it's illustration. What they've done is the Mirror has used this still just to illustrate the article, because this is the thing. Carey believes that the creatures are 4 feet tall, and he describes them, but not all are convinced by the photos. But the problem is Carey is not actually publishing them, and this is the problem. Nigel Watson, no, he's a piece of work, he is. He said, usually when people make promises that they have the smoking gun of ufology, positive evidence of their existence, they come to nothing, or they produce underwhelming evidence. Yeah, so this is there's another reference to this. He made the, because Carey actually made the, I think it was here, Reddit. Was this it? No, where is it? Here we are. W top. Here we are. Whatever that is, it's a radio show, and he was at this Washington event here at the American University in Washington, Tom Carey, and there's Leslie Kane was there too, and he made this announcement. He says that his agent was a woman from high-powered Midland, Texas. She was a lawyer, she's got a pilot's license, and she was married to a field geologist in the oil company as well. He hasn't done an awful lot to protect her anonymity, has he? I mean, how many female lawyers who fly and have husbands in the oil companies exist in Midland, Texas? Exactly. We have Domingo from Little Oakley on the phone, as Alan Partridge once said. I mean, the big question is, what I was asking was, I wrote an article about this, actually. Where was it? Here we are. 2015, the year of disclosure. That's what I wrote. And I actually wrote, why doesn't Tom Carey, why doesn't he just publish them now? That's the question. If he's holding them back, why is he holding them back? Why doesn't he just let us, if he's had them confirmed by Kodak, why hasn't he just published these images? And that, I suppose, leads to the question of whether he's taken us for a ride. And the thing is, Tom Carey is actually quite a reliable guy. I mean, him and Don Schmidt have written a really good book about Roswell, and he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to come out with some cock and bull story which he can never confirm and which would ruin his reputation. And when I spoke to Steve, it sort of fell into place a bit, because Steve knows about this. And he said that it's connected with what... Well, I don't know if he actually said that. I mean, you make your own mind up when you listen to the radio show, but I think there's a connection between the two. Between what's happening with what Steve is doing and what this character Carey is doing. Carey is timing the release of these photos so that there can be no doubt about them for when this hearing that Steve's trying to get will take place. All I can say is I just hope he's made copies of them, or he's locked them up carefully somewhere. Not in his house, somewhere else which no one knows about, because he might get an inadvertent burglary by the NSA, you know, that sort of thing. So that's kind of like where this is really interesting. This is a really amazing turn of events. Now, this is what the BBC News website says. PM warns firms after the Rigby murder. There's a lot of talk about terrorism in the newspaper, in the papers at the moment, in the news, about all this sort of thing. Where is it? Yesterday there was a big stuff about terrorism, all that kind of thing. Now, I suppose what concerns me here is that, and Steve actually talks about this in the interview, is that whether something's going to happen that will put a kibosh on the entire thing. I mean, if a major terrorist incident happened, it would derail everything. And if you remember Dr. Stephen Greer and the Disclosure Project press conference in May 2001, basically that was completely derailed by 9/11 a few months later. Some people even speculated that that was the reason why they did 9/11. I doubt that, quite frankly, but there's many reasons why they did 9/11. But the effect was that the effect of 9/11 was that it really threw a spanner into the works of the Disclosure Project. If the Disclosure Project wasn't even controlled opposition anyway, some people say it was. So I mean, I get the feeling there's a kind of a build-up going on. And there's a lot of talk about internet censorship and the net. There's a lot of talk about increasing surveillance powers and police powers and stuff like that. And it's, is there a false flag imminent? That's what it's almost like a kind of pre-2012 Olympics feeling in the air at the moment. Is there a terrorist attack imminent, which would put a kibosh on the whole thing? If there is, then the only way we can prevent it is by people like me saying so. Because if too many people are expecting it, it ain't going to happen. Because these things will only work if people aren't expecting them, and so they don't suspect the government of being behind it, and being a false flag. So, I mean, my advice to you is get my disclosure believing side of you is saying get tweeting, or write to your congressman and senator if you're American. Go for all the tweets. It takes a few hours actually to do all of the tweets for every single member of the Congress, but you do it in little bits at a time. I did it over a period of about 3 days, and then retweet all the ones you get. Retweet, keep doing it again and again, as many times as possible, until at least over the next month. And that's my advice. That's what my disclosure believing brain side of my brain says. Now the side of me which says it's impossible, my cynical side that says it's impossible, says still do it. Both sides of me are saying do it, because you got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose, really. It's like Pascal's wager. Just do it anyway. I mean, it takes up 3 days of your life, and if you're wrong, then what have you lost? 3 hours. Not 3 days, 3 hours. So anyway, I do go listen to the radio interview. I hope you like it. I'm going to go to bed now. Thanks for watching. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order.